Justice League, guys! It is available today on digital. For those of you that are waiting for Blu-ray, you're gonna have to wait around a month from now to actually watch it on Blu-ray, but it is available on digital, on demand, and it is the first time I'm watching it. I know I'm a few months off, but it is here, and I'm excited. Not only was this one of the most anticipated movies of 2017, it was one of the most anticipated movies of my life. If you had asked me in the first 20 years of my life, I'll be 30 on Friday, what would be the most ultimate revolutionary superhero movie, I would without a doubt say Justice League. Up to that point, you'd never really seen a movie where all these different superheroes come together for one big, epic movie. The first 20 years of my life didn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All I'd really seen from them is the non-Disney stuff. Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and it's all great and dandy, and I do like those heroes and everything, but DC was where it was at in the first 2/3 of my life, because Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, when you think of superheroes, when you think of ultimate superheroes, you think of these characters. Now, I have a love-hate relationship when it comes down to the DCEU, mostly speaking with Superman, as I'm a huge fanboy of Superman. I believe the first username I've ever had in my life was Superman David on Web TV. I own the entire series of Smallville on DVD, which I have seen probably 4 or 5 times. I own the entire Christopher Reeve's Superman series on Blu-ray, including all 4 movies that most people don't realize that there are 4 movies, as well as the Superman Returns movie with Brandon Routh. I don't own the Lois and Clark Superman series, but I have seen that at least 2 times. And I'm gearing up to see the Krypton series that's about to air on Sci-Fi, which is yet another before Superman with Superman series. So I'm a big fan of him, so I've always seen him a certain way of pouring hope. You just feel hope pour from him. So I wasn't really a big fan of him in Man of Steel, or really with Batman vs. Superman. I didn't feel that beacon of hope that you normally feel with Superman. I felt a lot of grungy stuff, a lot of dark stuff that can be equated to how you feel with Batman. So the real question is, did I feel that beacon of hope in Justice League? Yes. This is probably the best way they could have possibly made the Justice League movie, and I think it works for the most part. However, there is one main problem with this movie, and that is the originality when it comes down to the story. Why this team bands together in the first place is a little too reminiscent of the first Avengers movie, and that is, there is a cube-like thing, which is the center focus of the movie. It is what the bad guys are after, and there's a bunch of alien creatures that kind of look like bugs that all of the heroes have to fight. Very, very reminiscent of Avengers, which kind of makes it not feel super original. It's a lot of fun to watch, but it does have that problem. So let's get into it. First up is the people category, and that goes through the acting, characters, casting, importance, and chemistry, all of which are done surprisingly well. While the acting doesn't have the hugest range for all the characters, there is a lot of expression, and the way that they actually do things as far as action is considered can be considered great acting. The characters, of course you're going to remember all the characters. These are poster characters for what superheroes stand for. Of course they're going to be memorable, and they all have different abilities, which means they all have different expertise into different fields into helping the movie, so they all have importance. They all work really well together. They all have this interesting chemistry that bounces off each other, not so much like with Marvel Cinematic Universe, but with kind of in their own special way. Everything here did really good. 10 out of 10 possible stars for people. Next up is the writing category, in which this one, there's only a couple of things that got perfect scores, and that is balance and how interesting it is. Surprisingly enough, there's a lot of different things happening. There's a lot of characters. However, it never really feels like there's too much going on, as it does a really good job of focusing on one thing at hand, and that is the bad guys that are trying to collect these cubes to destroy the world or conquer the world or whatever you want to call it. Of course, It is Superman, Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman, classic superheroes that you can't forget. So, interesting, absolutely. Everything else gets half points. Nothing about the dialogue that really pops out at me. The story itself isn't super deep or anything. It is what it is. And it feels somewhat reminiscent of, like I said, the Avengers movie in 2012. So it's not super original, it's not super deep. Ultimately, the writing category gets 7 out of 10 possible stars. The BTS category goes over the visuals, directing, editing, advertisement, and music and sound, and all of these get full points again, as everything is done rather well. It is a very visually stunning movie. Some people have complained about the visuals when it came down to CGIing Clark Kent's face because the actor had a beard that they completely wiped out with CGI. I personally didn't really notice, maybe a little bit with the cleft in the chin, but I honestly, I didn't see anything. I thought that they did it really, really well. I liked the way that the director was able to compact the story into one thing and not going overboard and over-convoluting it, but not only that, just the way it looks overall, his vision shines through. The editing, of course, is sharp. There's nothing to complain about with the editing. It's all done really well. You understand everything that's going on at the same time. It is as advertised as it should be, and the music and sound is very well done. Or, I mean, throwing in Danny Elfman and John Williams' scores, and they're just tying everything together really was nice. So, 10 out of 10 possible stars for BTS. Next up, we have the narrative arc score, which goes over the introduction, inciting incident, obstacles, climax, and falling action, all of which get full points as well. It's a pretty solid narrative structure. The introduction gets you acquainted with all the heroes and what's going on in their lives. The inciting incident comes down to the bad guys wanting to get control of these cubes. The obstacles, of course, it's a superhero movie. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of alien bugs going around killing people, and the superheroes have to take care of them, and blah, 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 blah. The climax feels like a big culmination of everything, and just like it should, falling action calms down and returns to a new sense of norm. Narrative arc gets 10 out of 10 possible stars. Entertainment score, how entertaining is it? This goes over how rewatchable it is, how much of a good time do you have while watching it, the impulse to buy, the impulse to talk, and if it sucks the audience in overall. For this, there's only one thing that gets half points, and that is the impulse to talk about it, and I would just say it has a general sense that you could have a good discussion with somebody, but nothing more than that, so that gets half points. Everything else, full points. I would rewatch this. I would have no problems doing that. Definitely had a good time while watching it. Lots of things were going on. I actually would not mind going out and buying this because it's that good of a movie. It is that kind of a movie. It doesn't suck the audience in. Yeah, of course it does. Lots of things going on. It doesn't give you a chance not to be sucked in. So all in all, 9 out of 10 possible stars for entertainment. Specialty scores! So the first thing I want to know is, how does this fit in with the DCEU? You know, it's weird because the DCEU has a whole bunch of different kind of movies that all kind of feel either dark or light or whatever. This one kind of has a good combination of both the light and the dark. It has our characters that we all know and love, and we like seeing them evolve to where they are now. I think for the most part, this fits in with the DCEU really, really well, and that gets 10 out of 10 possible stars. As an action film, I believe that there's so much going on in this movie that it's hard not to call it an action film. The action itself is wonderful and amazingly directed, so 10 out of 10 possible stars. As with most superhero movies, this is listed off as an action and an adventure, so how is the adventure? You know what? I don't understand why some superhero movies are still considered adventure, because for the most part, there isn't really an adventure going on. While there is a lot of different locations, it doesn't feel like a collective adventure. So, half points, 5 out of 10. In general, let's ignore the DCU thing, let's ignore that, Man of Steel happened. Let's just think of the Justice League as a whole, as you know it. We've known the Justice League and what it stands for. Even if you try to go in blind, you have an expectation because you know what the Justice League is and you want to see the Justice League. So do you? Yes. I gotta give that 10 out of 10. Finally, is it halfway decent? I believe that they made the movie that they intended to make overall. I gotta give halfway decent, 10 out of 10. If we add up all those points, we get 91 out of 100 possible stars, 91%, which is a pretty good movie. Guys, tell me what you thought of Justice League in the comments down below. And if you could kindly subscribe to me on YouTube, hit that like button and hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, which should be tomorrow. And until then, guys, I'll see you later. Peace out.